Thank you for being here this morning. Wanted to inform the public about an an investigation that's been ongoing this week that culminated in a search warrant being served last night in the 1200 block of 64th Court here in Meridian. Our school resource officers were made aware of a threat that was put out on social media earlier this week. Based upon that threat, we began to investigate and look into the person who we have had contact with in the past in regards to the postings that were being made. Based upon the nature of the post, we contacted the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, through the City of Meridian. They have a task force officer assigned to the FBI, and through their assistance, we made contact with the Bureau. They began an investigation that led to a search warrant being served last night here in Meridian, and they are working the case from the federal level. Now, we have made an arrest last night of Daniel Christian Johnson, 36 years old, who lived at the residence where the search warrant was served. He has been charged with making terroristic threats. He has no bond at this time. There is a bond hearing on Tuesday in Justice Court. Others are here this morning because this was a group effort with us working together, each having their own part in this investigation. First, I want to make sure that we thank the community and the schools for making sure that we were aware of these threats. We have all seen over the last several weeks numerous threats made not only in our community but across our nation, where people are making threats that are not allowed. You cannot make terroristic threats, even though it's on social media. That is not free speech, no different than you can walk in the middle of a theater and scream fire. The FBI and their search warrant last night discovered evidence that they will move forward with. That is for them to discuss. Again, an ongoing investigation, and they will have to address any questions you might have in regards to that. So I am now opening for if anyone has any questions that hasn't been covered.
When did the investigation initially start with the Sheriff's Department?
On Monday.
When were y'all first aware that these posts were first kind of going up? Because I know I saw them a few weeks, maybe a month ago, some beginning.
That was a separate incident, not associated with this particular time. However, as I mentioned earlier, we have had interaction with Mr. Johnson in the past. Previously, there were no charges filed. We took other measures in order to work with him, and no charges were filed with those. They didn't cross the line, if you will.
Was he terminated from the school, or did he resign?
Mr. Johnson resigned quite some years ago.
Do you know when?
I really don't want to put a specific date. I think it was 2016, somewhere around that time. So,
It's been several years.
yeah, it's been several years. Yes, ma'am.
How serious were these? They're clearly terroristic threats, but what were some of those threats that were being made on social media?
They were addressed not toward a particular school, but more toward personnel that worked at a school. So the school itself, if we had had a threat that we felt like was immediate, we would have taken different action, obviously. We did not have that. We chose to continue our investigation and to work with the resources that were made available to us to make sure that we had a thorough investigation. And so it was more pointed toward personnel that were associated with the school.
This may be more of a DA question here. When a person, not me, what is it? Yeah.
Yes, sir, it is, but we'll just take care of that.
Yeah. How many years, and Ward, this may be you, when this comes out, how many years is someone looking at on a charge like this when they make a threat? What is punishable by law?
I believe it's 10 years. I do not have the statute in front of me, but I believe it's a maximum punishment of 10 years on the terroristic threats. I do not yet know what he will be charged with on the federal side, and so I could not speak to what
So
the
we could
parameters of that sentence, but you have two separate investigations. Of course, they have certain things that they investigate that we do not have statutes that deal with that behavior, or maybe it deals with a separate type of crime that's connected. So this is the only state charge that he has right now, but he may have other charges coming once they complete their federal investigation. We won't know that until their investigation is complete.
Now, if somebody's watching and saw their name brought up in this and they felt that they have, do they come forward now, or is that already, do you think everybody has that? Or do they need to come to the sheriff's office and go, hey?
Yeah. The postings that we were made aware of, those individuals have been contacted, and we have already done that. There may be information out there that hasn't been shared with us yet. That maybe we hadn't been made aware of. I don't think that's happened, but it certainly could have. If somebody has a question, all they need to do is to contact us, and we will, decide whether or not it's something we need to work on in addition to what we already have.
And anybody who was named in his post, none of them have been harmed in any way?
No,
Like
no one's been.
harassed or
No.
anything like that? Okay.
No.
Other than the main post, but like individually, like they weren't being messaged or anything, you know of?
Still an ongoing investigation, and so some of those issues and a part of the forensic analysis of the material that would have been gathered during the search warrant last night will be able to answer some of those questions that we don't have answers to today, but none that I'm aware of. Anybody have anything else? Thank you. Appreciate you coming. I want the community to know that we are working together. We're working together to try to make our community as safe as possible. That is done with the community interacting with us, providing us information so that we can best do our jobs. And we are thankful for the ones that stepped forward and said, here's something you need to know about. So, thank you.
I want one clarification. What agencies were all involved last night? So that we get all-
The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department, the Meridian Police Department, our drug task force did some work last night, as well as the FBI. Did I leave anybody out? I don't think so. I think that gets everybody. It can get complicated sometimes. There's a lot of people sometimes involved in these kinds of investigations. Yeah, I believe I have everybody there. All right,
So
thank
is-
you.
oh,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So sorry, I just thought of, so is everything gonna be handled at the Lauderdale County, jail, like courthouse, and the FBI is just gonna keep coming back, or is some stuff gonna be handled?
Depends on what their investigation yields. There certainly, as our district attorney mentioned, may be federal charges. They may, what's commonly referred to as adopt our case, where we would not have the state charges. We would dismiss those, and they would handle everything federally. It's just too early in the investigation to know that for sure yet. Anything else? Last thing then, holiday weekend. Drive safely. Have a designated driver. Wear your seatbelt. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to find all these things that are stuck on to me by various and sundry people. And am I giving them all back?
I have a lot of things that are on your.
I got a,